Sadnam. We are Jen and Ramthan from Heart Center Revolution.
Our intention with this podcast is to share the best of Kundalini yoga and conscious living with you so you can live a more heart-centered life. Satnam and welcome to episode 56 of the Heart Centered Revolution podcast. Today is a fun episode. I'm sharing a conversation I had with my friend Aryana Rollins. Aryana is an author, speaker, and an intuitive guide with a specialty in manifestation. And I was actually a guest on her podcast a few weeks ago, and she was helping me clear some blocks that I'm having right now to manifestation. And it was such a beautiful process. But when we were talking, she had alluded to her 5 stages of manifestation, these ideas that there are 5 levels or 5 stages. And we only talked about, I think, maybe 1 through 3 in that conversation on her podcast. So I wanted to invite her over here to finish that conversation. And so that's the bulk of this conversation, is about these 5 levels of manifestation. And then she also shares about her amazing book that just came out last week. And then, as always, at the end of the episode, I will guide you through a pranayama practice. This one is going to help increase your awareness of your breath patterns and your pranayama, which can actually be a key to seeing into the. So that's my little teaser for the pranayama, that you'll have to stick around to the end to see what I mean by that. And I'll put links to connect with Aryana in the episode description. But without further ado, here is our wonderful conversation. Okay, welcome, Aryana, to the Heart Center Revolution podcast. We're so thrilled to have you here and to share you and your work with our audience. In fact, we've shared your materials or your stuff before, maybe a couple years ago. So I'm excited to reintroduce you to our podcast audience and revisit. So welcome.
It's an honor, Jen. And I'm really looking forward to it, because something happens when we gather together. There's just wonderful insight. So thank you for this opportunity.
I think so too. And what kind of spurred us doing this is I was a guest on your podcast, and I had this deep breakthrough about manifestation and kind of where I was stuck myself. And in that conversation, you had mentioned like 5 phases of manifestation, and we had only talked about 2, because I think I'm at like level 2 or 3. And we just got to talking and we didn't get back around to the other 3. And so I wanted to invite you on so that you could share those 5 phases of manifestation with my audience. But if we could actually start, I'm thinking now, if we could start a little bit more foundational before you get to the 5 phases. Can you just describe like what you mean by manifestation? Because I'm assuming people know, but some people might not be kind of familiar with this practice that so many in the spiritual realm are trying to get into. But maybe just start with like what manifestation means to you, and then tell us about your 5 stages.
I think it's creating from thought alone. So we have an intention, our mind, we have a desire, and then we connect with our heart, and we amplify that desire with our emotions. So we're sending it out there, and our emotions, our future gratitude, can bring it back to us. There's a lot of little steps along the way, but that's a description.
That's such a beautiful way to say it. And it's this idea that you can manifest things energetically and, like you're saying, emotionally, and it doesn't have to be, and you can, this will give our audience like a little like tip as to where I'm at in my process once you talk about your 5 stages, but it doesn't have to be a ton of hard, long work to manifest what you want if you get aligned, is kind of the idea behind practicing intentional manifestation.
Yeah, I like that word, intentional. And one of the things that kind of sets this work apart is that it's not get a vision, set it and forget it. It's actually checking in daily and checking our alignment and identifying where we've got resistance to receiving, which we'll talk about in one of the phases. That's a big one, that people will get clear on something really important to them and that they feel it in their heart. It's not a lack of desire, but it's a lack of willingness to receive. And a lot of females suffer from this.
Oh, yeah. A difficulty receiving.
Right?
Oh, yeah. That resonates, right?
Yeah.
I'm so excited to get into it. So let's start with the phases.
Okay. So phase one is pushing and forcing and using willpower, determination, or we get stuck in status quo and we tell ourselves, oh, everything's okay. And this is where we get excited about what we want. And what happens is that we do it in the old way, the smart goal way, trying to muscle through. And then that's not sustainable. So we really need a sustainable path to manifesting, which means holding it lightly and not forcing it. It's got to come in this way. And, figuring out the first step, second step, third step, nothing wrong with that. But if we're trying to like white knuckle manifesting, we can get really stuck in phase one. And a lot of people give up.
Yeah, it sounds like that's where you like push, 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 and then you're in burnout.
Exactly. Yep. And then phase two is taking random action, frustrated and not succeeding. And this is where you're clear on what you want. You're going to give the manifesting process and techniques a go. You've eliminated everything else. You've got that clarity of focus, but you're chasing after so many different ways to get there. So it's bright, shiny object mode. You're throwing money, time, and energy at anything that might solve the problem or get you where you want to go. We've still got a little bit of this energy of trying to make it happen, but it's kind of disguised because we're taking action, we're getting help, we're getting this book, this program, this coach, this guide, and we're so dispersed. And one of the things that can happen when we get dispersed is that our unconscious mind doesn't know what's most important. And so if we can start to move forward on, this is the book that's going to help me, and we're all gung-ho, and then we find this thing and we get distracted and go over there. And there's a lot of things going on. One, we don't trust ourselves that we've made a good, solid decision and that this is the path. And so one of the ways through phase two is sticking with something, focusing on that clarity from phase one. You know what you want. You're going to use these techniques. And then you stick to something that's going to help you, a system, a methodology, and you focus on it for like 30 to 40 days. That's what I like to see.
That's so interesting. So it sounds like in this stage, in the second stage, it's like you know what you want and you know kind of all the ways to get there, and maybe you're scattered, like you're bouncing between all the different ways to get there and then not necessarily committing because you're not trusting either that you're going to get the outcome or that this might be the right one. So this is where I feel like the fear of missing out comes in, of like if you start one method and then you're like, oh, but I see this one, like I see an ad for this one, and so I'm going to jump over here. So you're kind of like spinning your wheels a little bit.
Yeah, I really like that fear of missing out. I hadn't used that words, but it's really true. And this is where it breaks my heart because I see a lot of very genuine, sincere people, coaches or leaders or teachers, and they really want to make an impact in the world, but they're so easily sold because they have not got this discernment and discrimination on what's going to support them. They're not in alignment. And if we are making decisions about who's going to help us and we're not coming from alignment, it's really hard to know whether that person is going to be the correct guide. And we can then get programmed. And I mean, I've done it, probably Jen, you have too.
Oh, yeah.
Hire a business coaching program and it's like, wow, this is like, I don't know what happened, but I'm not feeling myself. I've lost my energy for what I'm doing because we're trying to follow somebody else's path.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I find that if I'm like reading it correctly when I've been in this phase, like even if I find what I think resonates as the right path, I'm not committed. Like because I don't trust the outcome or I don't trust my decision or I'm not open to receiving, right? There's some resistance within me, then I'm not fully committed to the path. So I might do a little and get a good result and be excited and then back off a little bit.
Absolutely, Jen. That's the bright, shiny object is where we're attracted to other things or that giving up and backing off, because those are things like what in my world, I use the term blockers, which are self-defeating patterns, either way we're thinking, the way we're feeling, or the way we're behaving, our actions. And those often at the beginning of the manifesting journey are very strong because if we think about just our body as a storehouse of the unconscious mind, it's not a accurate really expression, but we think about it, it doesn't like to change. We like to have our routines that make us feel comfortable and we flow
Sure.
in our day. And so if we want something to change, even if it's a positive change, it can trigger, we can get nervous. Yeah.
Yeah. I've learned in like my therapy teachings that our ego resists it because it feels like it's a death of a sort. Because if your current reality changes, then there's like a mini death. Even if the rebirth is better than your current state, there's a resistance and a fear within our ego because as bad as things might be, and I'm not saying they have to be bad, like at least you know you're alive and you can survive your current reality, but the ego gets really scared about the unknown, even if it's potentially an improvement.
So true. So true. Yep. Yep.
Okay, so we've got the first two. So what's the third phase?
Phase 3 is letting go of control. And this is where we begin to trust the process. We could also call this the surrender phase. And is we realize that what we've been doing in these earlier phases is not getting us the result. It's not working. So there's a little bit, okay, I'm ready to ask for help. And it's not ask for help always from the outside world. It's asking for help within. So this is the phase you're entering the manifestation, the beginning of the manifestation zone. And we're doing baby steps to letting go of control. And so if you hear my dog whinging, he knows when I'm like enjoying a conversation. He's like, I'm going to be part of it. So just please disregard that, but you'll hear his whinging in the background.
Yeah, he's welcome.
So some synchronicity start to show up in this phase, and you're starting to see breadcrumbs and you're feeling that momentum, but you're still experiencing some negativity. So you're in the rookie manifestation zone, you're out of accepting the status quo, and you're open to new experiences, but there's still that tendril of, I don't know if it's going to work fully. And that idea of letting go of control is huge. Like you mentioned with the ego likes to know what's happening, what's coming next. And when we're in this phase, we are more open to intuitive guidance and receptive to, okay, I don't know exactly what the next step is, but I'm willing to try.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I have experienced this phase, like this surrender. And I forget if I shared this, but with my pregnancy, I had a lot of, it seems like every week the doctor was like, well, like these 5 things could be going wrong, but we won't know. And like they were like catastrophic things. And so I was like, I get that she had to tell me that information, but there's literally nothing I could do with it. So it was just I had to really work with my doula who was giving me like spiritual sessions at the time on just surrender. Like what's going to happen is going to happen. I surrender the outcome, like and that act of surrender really brought a lot of magic and manifestation into my life during that time period. But it felt very vulnerable as well. It was magical and vulnerable, and I felt supported. It was a very interesting like way of being.
Oh, it's beautiful. I did not know that. Wow, it's a really spiritual awakening process for you. Pregnancy. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite the journey to become the person I needed to be, to be the mother I needed to be for my daughter.
Yeah. And I call that a soft shell crab phase. That's not really actually part of manifestation journey,
I love that, a
but
soft shell crab face.
right? And you've let go of who you are and becoming a mother for the first time. We have to. And that
Mhm.
you're vulnerable, like you said, you're raw. And everything that's worked in the past is no longer working. And you need to grasp onto something and create that new identity. And hopefully the identity is more aligned with your inner being or your true self or your
Mhm.
higher self.
Yeah, I certainly needed to like surrender a sense of control, and like I have a powerful mind and a good work ethic, but that just doesn't get you through pregnancy. Like you got to find other tools, right? And surrender and connection and like just being okay with being raw and being open and accepting support from my husband and spirit and even myself, and like giving myself a lot of grace was definitely a a transformational experience.
Wow. I see a book possibly in you, Jen.
Oh, that's what Rompton says
Ah,
about my pregnancy and just like our journey with parenting too. So
right.
it's
Yeah.
interesting that you said that.
Yeah. So shall we go into phase 4?
Yes, I'm excited.
Okay. Gaining manifesting momentum. So after phase 3, we come to recognize how our negative thinking and focusing on nothing's changing, and that it just creates more of the same. So when we get to this phase, we've been clearing the blocks to receiving so you can start to fast track your manifestation results. And one of the interesting things that happens is that around phase 4, and then as we start to move into phase 5, people are able to manifest bigger things because it's really easy for most people when they're on this journey to manifest a parking lot space or somebody gives you something. But to manifest with what you said, intention, and that conscious and deliberate creation of something that's very big that you've wanted for a while, and maybe you've had some track record of disappointments and failures. Well, this is really where the rubber meets the road here. So phase 4 is we're starting to see some progress on those bigger things, and we're moving from confusion from the earlier phases, especially phase 2, into this clarity. And we're feeling aligned with our manifestation practice. So this is where I would really call it strategic manifesting. We're following a system, we're following a methodology, and we're starting to see, and really success in this phase is that there's less downtime if you get thrown off track. So instead of being weeks or months not following your path, it can be days or hours. It's like you write yourself up like that old-fashioned toy. I don't know if you ever saw them. Weebles wobble, but they never fall down.
Yes.
That's this phase. It's like you've got that resilience in you.
Yeah, because we're human, so we can kind of get on the quote unquote wrong path or get out of alignment. But you're there less often and for a shorter amount of time, it sounds.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is this like the phase where it almost feels like what you are aiming to manifest feels inevitable, but it's not quite here yet? Or is that maybe the next one?
It starts in this phase. And one of the things that I remember when I figured this out along the way, and because I've been working in this field for a while, but I didn't really know how it was working. What are these phases? And I started to observe myself. And it's when I set an objective and I remember the day, it was so amazing. I'd gone through the steps and I'd envisioned what I wanted and I anchored it in my heart. And I felt like this chill. It's already happened. Just need to follow the timeline, because manifesting anything in physical material world has a timeline. So it was already created and caused. So it was
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
would be a sign in phase 4, like you said.
Yeah, I love that feeling when you get to, because I've gotten to that point with a couple of things where I'm like something I've longed for, and then it's not here yet, but I can like and I don't know how, but I know it's going to be here, and that just like it just feels inevitable, and that helps the surrender so much because then it feels almost like no matter what I do, it's going to come in. Like I just need to stay, in alignment and just move forward and through one path or another, this relationship or this car or this whatever is gonna come through.
Yeah, I remember you telling me the story of the car and how
Hmm.
you manifested that. And it's like in this phase, we're really holding it lightly because we are operating from trust and faith and belief in our ability to track down whatever resistance is in there. And we recognize it. And we really feel there is a sense of, interestingly, because phase 3 is we need to surrender and let go of control. But phase 4 and 5, that sense of control, we've got this, starts to come in.
Yeah, and that confidence, it sounds
Yes,
like.
confidence. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, well then let's do phase 5.
yeah. Phase 5 is the inspired action and results. And this is really dropping deeply into the present moment. And this is really present moment manifestation zone. This is where more often than not, you feel aligned and in flow. You recognize when you're out of alignment, you're not taking action when you're out of alignment. You're that when you've got that like negative oh, you're just that squirrel or
Mhm.
monkey mind, and it's got you up and down emotionally. Whoa, don't initiate anything here. Don't decide anything here. Let's get
Mhm.
back to center, right? And so this is when you're out of alignment, when you are in alignment, and you're taking more and more successful action. So you're really tuned in to the intuitive guidance, that feminine part of yourself, and it's starting to solve the core problem. This is obviously where we want to be most of the time. We've got a desire and an intention. We're feeling future gratitude. We know it's coming, and it's simply a matter of waiting time. And managing that in between state is easier
Mhm.
for you now. So even if you don't have the money in your bank account or the car in your driveway or the beloved partner, you're loving life anyway. And it's
Mhm.
from that sweet spot that we actually become what we want to attract.
Yeah, and become who you need to be almost to be
Yes,
in that way. I
exactly.
love this idea, and this is definitely an area of growth for me of right only taking aligned action,
Mhm.
and using discernment about if I'm out of alignment, then like especially let's not take big scary action, maybe do something like that's more rote, like just habitual, something that's just like paying bills or whatever, but like not do
Exactly.
something big marketing project or reach out to a potential collaborator or you know that's just it is something that I think that's an area of growth for me, and it's so liberating almost to use that as a guide for only taking aligned action.
Yeah. And sometimes, Jen, I think in this world, to get things done and be productive, it feels really good. I definitely notice it in myself when I end the
Mhm.
day, like, oh, look what I got done, and I like my checklist. But to actually pause and not do something, I think takes more discipline. That's real use of discipline.
100%. Or even pause and like if your vibration is out of alignment, like oftentimes it's a 5-10 minute walk, visualization, meditation, pranayama, right? Some of the practices we talk about in this podcast. Sometimes it's just a matter of taking a pause and prioritizing vibration over action first, alignment, get aligned, and then take the action.
I
I
love
think
that
that's such
vibration of,
a
yeah.
such a lesson and such a way to right to then leverage the effort that we do put in.
Yeah, it will be more effective, more successful. I
Exactly.
just it was a couple weeks ago, I participated in this group training where you create a membership program. And I've
Mhm.
been thinking about it. I said, yeah, I think I want to do that. And I was spinning my wheels and I was trying to push and force things. I'm like, wait a minute, stop, Ariana. And I stopped and I got it done in one day,
Mm.
which was not all day even working. I would say probably 3 to 4 hours. And the page was complete, the welcome email and everything. And I sat back and I was on a high at the end of the day because I recognized whatever I was trying to push was like poop uphill. And I was like, I had to let go of it and allow something else to come through, which
Mhm.
often is looking at a blank piece of paper rather than trying to kind of cut and paste and move what we've done before. Start fresh.
Yeah, for sure. And to like allow that divine intuitive download rather than like working in this might not make sense to people, but like for me, it's like pulling from the bottom up versus like the top down. Like it can kind of come in if you open that line of intuition, the idea can almost come in fully formed and then it just like unfolds like a flower versus like pulling like, oh, I think this would be good. I think this would be good, like Frankensteining it together, right?
I love it. I have done so many Frankensteining things together.
For
That is
sure.
brilliant. What a visual. Thank you, Jen. I don't think I could ever do it again without seeing Frankenstein.
That's just what it feels to me like when I'm trying to force something. It's like it's not unintelligent, like I'm using
Yeah.
sound principles, but it's definitely not the same as when something When I align with my intuition, it's like fully formed, like I said, just plops down in my mind, and then I can sit and type or create whatever it is, and it just unfolds. Like it's whole. It's just such a magical experience to create that way.
Well, this is funny because I will say that the book I just finished writing did not come that way. It did not come down as this divine download. It was 5 years of pushing water uphill and efforting, and oh my gosh. And it's like I joke that I didn't write the book wrote me.
That is so interesting. And I want to talk about the process of writing your book and for you to share your book with our audience. But I want to just wrap up the 5 phases. Is there anything else you want to share about the 5 phases? Anything else you think is important that we didn't touch on?
That just paying attention to how you're feeling and what you're thinking and your behaviors and your actions, and start to notice, are you making progress? Are you feeling good at the end of the day with how you used your time? And then
Mm,
that's an indication that you're more often than not, like Jenna said, you've got a higher vibration. And if we think manifesting is not only about getting more stuff or creating business success or more money in our bank account, it's actually creating a sustainable way of living and
mm.
feeling good about ourselves and turning up more loving in the world, which is why I so am passionate about your work.
Yeah,
Heart-centered revolution is brilliant. It's exactly what we're talking about.
there's so much resonance. And I love what you're saying, where it's also like, of course, there's like the things we want in life, but so much of the process is like, how do you enjoy the journey there and not have it feel heavy, and like at the end of the day you're just completely drained? Because that's what I know is when I'm in resistance, at the end of the day I am burnout and exhausted and drained, and that's the biggest sign to me, like, ooh, I've been working uphill today.
Absolutely, because it's quite possible. It's happened to me a lot, and probably you as well. You end your day with, it's time to go to sleep, but you're feeling good. You've got good energy.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
even if
true.
nothing's changed. Like,
Exactly.
right? Nothing
Exactly.
in the reality has changed. It's
Yeah.
all internal shifts. And
Yeah.
that is 100% what we talk about here on the podcast and with Heart Center Revolution, from a different angle of practices of how do you get in alignment.
Yes.
But I love this tool of like being more aware of like where you're at. One question I wanted to ask is, it sounds to me like then you could be in different phases, maybe with different parts of your life. So in a different phase with financial stuff, a different phase with their romantic relationship, a different phase maybe with your like body shape or weight or health and nutrition, things like that. Is that the case where you can kind of be in different places and different
I hadn't
areas?
I hadn't thought about that, but it reminded me of I had a conversation with myself the other day. I do that a lot. Is this idea of super achiever. So we could be a super achiever in our relationship or in our parenting or our health or our work. A super achiever, we've accomplished and we know we've got a level of mastery in that area. And then that we can transfer that super achieverness, not a real word, over to other areas of our life where we don't yet have that experience. And that feels really good. I don't know if I would match it completely to the different phases. I think it's a little more about that super achieveness. We've got that level of mastery. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing is, once we have that in one area of our life, we can transpose it on another area. It is absolutely
Interesting.
possible.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense because it opens you up to the idea that you are capable, or like it just breaks that barrier that it's not possible for you, or that that's not part of who you are or part of your journey. So if you can kind of succeed, I'm using quotes here, like succeed in one area, then it kind of breaks that mental barrier that it's not possible. Um,
Absolutely. And that it feels so good if as an exercise to your listeners is to write down what areas of your life are you a super achiever. And
I
not
love
from an
that.
ego perspective, but
Yeah.
just where do you have a level of mastery that you know that you've accomplished it? And maybe people ask you or they follow you naturally because they witness you've got good health, at whatever age, in your 60s, or that you've got a really loving, real relationship with your child. And so we can develop that and it can be transferred. So I did that the other day and I was like, I just felt so good looking at my
Mhm.
super achieveness in these areas because it's not in all areas. So in our business, that's huge personal growth tool. We've talked about that before.
Mhm.
Parenting, huge personal growth tool. We're still in the journey of it. We haven't got
Mhm.
yet to mastery.
Yeah, and I love that. And I know working, in the personal growth areas, both as a therapist and business and in yoga stuff, like we also often minimize the areas that come easy to us. And so it's easy to overlook like, oh, these areas of life are going really well and I thrive in, and it's easy not to pay attention to them. And so I love this idea of like checking in with the areas of life that might come easy to you and recognizing that that means you're very skilled and you're a super achiever in that area. Like it doesn't minimize the your skill or your effectiveness in that area just because it comes easy to you. That doesn't make it less valuable, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. And the energy that you poured into that, because we don't become a super achiever without accomplishment and energy. We created that. We
Yeah.
consciously created that. And that energy is, we can just kind of set it and forget it in a way. We can maintain it, but we're not starting from scratch. We've got a solid foundation. And then once we see that super achievement, we can trust it, those
Mhm.
areas, and then we can pour more energy into the areas where we want to become more masterful.
Yeah. Oh, I've loved this conversation and learning about the five phases. Thank you so much for sharing them. And like I said in our exchanges, I also want to learn more about your process of writing this book. And so if you could tell us a little bit just about what the book is about, and then how did you get this idea? It sounds like it was a long birth of a book for you.
Yeah, it was like 5 years of being pregnant. It was terrible. I could I could teach a course on how not to write a book. So don't follow my path, anybody.
Well, that's where
No,
the growth usually happens is from the
I know.
struggle, right? That's how we know where our our areas for growth are is in our struggle. So I'm sure we'd all gain I don't know, gain something from learning about your process.
Well, I will joke about it, and then I'll tell you that I had more people fire me as my helpers in this book creation than in any area of my life were not a fit, because I would change the title. I wanted the layout different in, the book layout. And
Mhm.
they're saying, Ariana, it's good enough. No, it's not. So this is where I don't know, because some could say it was me trying to be like perfection, because I definitely have a lot of Virgo in my astrological chart, but it wasn't. It wasn't right. It didn't have the message. So I changed the book title 3 times. I changed the cover probably 5 times,
Mm.
and it was an expensive journey of growth. So it was 5 years in the making, and I did not realize why I wrote the book, Jen, until 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
I know. Is this like trust or what? I don't
Yeah.
know what it was. That was crazy or something. And what I realized is that the push it, getting things done from this, masculine driven mind, that I really resisted that. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't feel good just to force myself. There's something off with the SMART goal methodology. And
Mhm.
then I did research. I remember back, I don't know, 2018, 2019, I started to learn about other manifesting teachers, and I didn't buy any books in it. But I was like, no, there's something off in this. There's something missing.
Mm.
And that's when I realized is that there's this bridge. And that's what the book is. It's this
Mhm.
bridge where it's strategic manifesting, which doesn't make any sense because
Mm.
if you think about strategy, you think about, you're planning it and you're controlling it and all that, but it's strategic manifesting.
Mhm. Yeah, it makes sense. It sounds on the surface like it could be like an oxymoron, but as you've described even the five phases, it makes sense how you can lean into both.
Yeah, so it's a balancing of the masculine energy, the action, get it done, and the feminine intuitive guidance energy. And then you're combining them both for to make our goal achieving faster and easier. So I still think of it as setting objectives, setting goals, knowing what we want. But it's not a simple set it and forget it. It's like you're cooking this beautiful, I don't know, pot of soup. And if
Mm.
you leave the pot of soup on the burner and you're not checking it and adding little spices and a little veggie here that needs to be added, it's not going to be as a rich of a meal. But if you're checking, what does it need? Oh, okay. Not from a mind forcing. It could be an intuitive download, but it could be
Mhm.
from a conversation that you have with someone. And it's like, oh, that's it. That's the next step.
Mhm.
So it's following breadcrumbs, but in a strategic way, a methodology. And Mindful Achiever, the book title didn't come through me until like a month ago. And so I had had so many different titles, and it's not aligned. Doesn't feel good. It's not aligned. And I was like, help, I got to get this book. I'm done. I've been pregnant 5 years. Get this out of me. I
Yeah.
just wanted to like throw it away.
Mhm.
Almost. I was done. And as I
Yeah.
said, I had 3 people just like wash their hands of me,
Mhm.
because when you're creating something, it's not just through you. It takes a team to bring something together like that. And I I would say one of the key benefits of me writing this book was listening to myself. And so
Mhm.
when this expert who creates um, authors to become a best-selling author on Amazon, when he let me go and he said, I don't think our visions aligned, I said, thank you. You're right.
Mm.
Because he was trying to, oh, it's terrible. The book cover that his guy designed, which I had to pay for, I was like, I just wanted to throw up. And it's, when you're creating something, Jen, there's an energy to it. And you
Yes.
know this. And
Yeah.
do you want to put that energy out in the world? No. It's
Yeah.
got to represent mind, body, spirit, soul. It's got to represent you. And that's what this book finally became.
What an amazing commitment you had to it being your creation and like following your intuition about the message it needed to be, the vibration it needed to hold in order to impact the people it needed to impact.
Yeah.
Like that's I think there is a strong lesson in there for all of us of, there are these certain really important things to us to follow your intuition and be committed to your personal vision.
Yeah. And they're
And
not negotiable.
yeah, wow. And you
Yeah.
stuck it out for the 5 years. And so what is it you said it's mindful manifesting? Is that it?
Mindful achiever.
Mindful achiever. So that's
So,
the title.
right. That's like achieving, right? That's that we want to accomplish our goals, but we want to come from presence and mindfulness.
Yeah, the balance of the two. That's
Yeah.
incredible. When is it available? So share with us how our audience can pick it up and can learn more about you.
You can learn about it at mindfulachiever.com, and that it's going to be available on Amazon November 29th. But if you do purchase it now, it's $2.99 for the Kindle version.
Oh, great.
And I would love it if it feels aligned and you want to play with it. And I would love to hear your journey with it and how I can support you. And I will answer questions and help you, because it makes it better if there's something that I can help you understand better. So if you do
Mhm.
get the Kindle, reach out.
Oh, that's so great. What a great offer to people. And I'll definitely be picking it up. Maybe we can do like a follow-up after I read it. And so
Oh, that'd be lovely.
you and I
Yes.
can do questions or even maybe like a book club situation. I'll see if there's an audience for that. But I'm definitely excited. I love what you share about the mindful achieving and just the alignment first. And you're right, there's a lot of that feminine energy about it, which for me personally, and then I think societally, achievement has almost always been that masculine, you know, set the goal, take 10 steps a day and just you grind it out. And that just doesn't work, particularly for women, because our energies cycle. And so, and then I just don't think it works for anybody. But I love the inclusion of that more feminine aligned way forward. Because then like even in the process to achieving what you want, there is a path of personal growth and alignment, and you're opening your heart and connecting to intuition. And those things are beneficial in and of themselves. Like they change how you experience your life with or without the eventual goal. And so that's like, that is, I know our audience knows, but that's where our paths align. Like that's what heart-centered revolution is let's get in that space. Let's try to move from that space.
Yeah, I love that. And sometimes like the book starts out with create a future possibilities wish list. So there's download forms, there's audios, meditations and things. And sometimes people will start and they'll write 4 pages of their wishes, their desires and what they want. And as they progress on this journey, they can find those things just naturally happening without any efforting. And this is where some of the magic of manifesting happens.
Yeah.
And then some of them are no longer important. So they'll drop away on their own as we get to know what's most important to us. And that's the journey.
That's so cool. It sounds the book really holds people's hand through the process.
Yes, it's a step-by-step method, and it's like worksheets that you can download. So there's a resource page you can click on, and then you'll get everything on my website, and there's meditations, and it's a little program, actually. It's not just a book, because that was one of the things that is not something that I feel really good putting out there, is something that's just inspiring and motivating. It's good, but I wanted people to be able to do it for themselves and not just feel good after a book. I want them to have the step-by-step method so they can create results in their life.
That's incredible. So someone can kind of take the steps and create the transformation for themselves, but with your support and your experience and your kind of approach on this.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Well, I look forward to reading it, and I'll share like the links to everything in the description for this episode. Is there anything else you want to share that's on your mind that we didn't cover?
No, just follow Jen. She's amazing. She's the real deal. She's just, if you haven't had a chance to meet her in person, her energy is so fine and so smooth. And she's just like a fearless wonder going into parenting and running a business and juggling a practice, and just really admire you. So follow Jen.
Aryana, that was so sweet. I'm like tearing up. Fearless is not true. I'm terrified half the time, but I so appreciate that. And I always enjoy our conversations, and I'm so inspired by you and kind of in awe of what you've downloaded and what you teach. I think it's such a unique and needed voice in this world. Like I follow a lot of the like manifestation teachings, and I find it very interesting, but what you have to share feels so, it just puts me at ease in a way that a lot of the teachings don't. And so I appreciate you and your work so much. And I assume yeah, of course, I assume this conversation will continue.
Yeah, I hope it will.
We can just bounce back to each other's podcasts and continue our conversation.
I love it. Yeah.
All right. For today's pranayama, I'm going to guide you through a breath awareness exercise. So this might feel more like a guided meditation than it does a specific pranayama. But that's the point. The point of this exercise is to get in touch with your own life force. So the word prana can be used to be like the inhale, like the literal breath that you take, but it also is that vitality and the life force within you. And so as we focus on our breath, the prana that is breath, we also get in touch with the life force that's within us, which is incredibly powerful. So let's get started. Let's sit up nice and tall. Close your eyes if it feels safe for you to do so. Rolling your shoulders up, back, and down. Lifting crown of the head nice and tall. Tucking your chin down and back just slightly. You can rest your hands in your lap or on the knees in Gyan Mudra. And as this is more of a meditation, if you're walking or driving, you can just practice long, deep breaths. But if you're in a place where you can really sit and meditate and go inward,
then that's ideal for this practice. So staying in that meditative posture, get yourself where you are alert but comfortable. And then begin breathing deeply in through the nose and out through the nose. Just a gentle breath, closing your eyes, relaxing into it. Now let all of your attention gather on the breath. Sense the breath as a quality of motion. How does your breath move in the different parts of your body? Notice how the breath and your body and the life force change as you continue to meditate. Bring your attention to your third eye. Notice how it feels to breathe and focus at your third eye. Now slowly bring your attention down to just below your belly button. Feel the motion and the life energy of the breath coming into the body. As you inhale, it expands. As you exhale, it contracts. Not just the physical body, but the energy emanating from it. Visualize your body as luminous. You are a light source. As you inhale, the light increases in brightness. As you exhale, it steadies. Let the light expand on each inhale until it is merging with the entire cosmos. Now let go of the doing. Let the breath breathe you. Experience your light and energy merging with the cosmos. Feel that you are unlimited and part of the vastness. Your breath is a wave on a much greater ocean of energy, of which you are a part. Notice the motions and changes in the subtle life force within you, in the patterning of your breath, and how it shows up in your physical body and your energetic body. Do not try to alter it. Observe it and notice your own pranic patterns. Notice the state of energy and motion in your own prana, your own breath, your own pattern of life force in your body. And inhale deeply. Suspend. Squeeze the body, pulling energy up the central channel of the body, out the crown of the head. Exhale. Let's do 2 more. Inhale deeply. Suspend the breath. Pull the body up the central channel of the body. Pull the energy up the central channel of the body. Exhale. Beautiful. Inhale deeply. Suspend, bring that energy up. Exhale completely. And let the breath and attention relax as I share little insights into this awareness of the breath and the life force in your body. What the yogis understand is that if you pay attention to your baseline and you know how your breath works and how it feels in your body, that if you check in with it regularly, any shift in your prana could foreshadow something in your future. So you might notice you're getting sick if you're paying attention to your breath. You're going to notice that sickness earlier than if you wait for other symptoms. If you're repressing or avoiding some emotions like anxiety or stress or anger, it will show in your breath. And so by connecting with your breath and being aware of your breath on a regular basis, little shifts in how it feels and how it shows up in your body can really alert you to something that's coming or something that's going on, and you can kind of become aware of it when it's in its more subtle form, which gives you a broader range of ways to act. So if you notice your breath is shifting in a way towards anxiety, then that gives you a chance to check in with yourself and say, oh, is there anxiety in my life that I'm avoiding or I'm not dealing with? Because it's going to show up in our breath before it comes to our more conscious awareness. I actually experienced this when I was pregnant. I knew I was pregnant because, we were trying. So I was kind of on the lookout for shifts in my experience. But when I would do my pranayama work, I was really out of breath. And it was before I think any pregnancy test would have shown that I was pregnant. That pregnancy showed up in my pranic experience. But if I didn't know my baseline and I didn't know what was kind of normal for me, I wouldn't have known that there was a shift happening there. So that's the fun of connecting with your prana. But if your eyes are still closed, you can blink them open and just reflect on any shifts to your mental, emotional, and spiritual state as a result of this practice. All right. Thank you so much for joining us in this episode. I hope you really enjoyed the conversation with Aryana. I adore her so much, and you can hear in the conversation that we get going and kind of get into a zone of conversation. I'll put the links in the episode description, but a reminder to get her book, Mindful Achiever, if that resonates with you and you're wanting some support with that. And then I will I'll put a link to her website as well if you want to learn about other ways to connect with her. And I'll also link to my episode on her podcast if you want to hear the conversation we had and how she helped me have like a real breakthrough on my manifestation journey. All right. We love you guys so, so much. Thank you for being here, and be revolutionary. Satnam.